our next speaker. Our next speaker is His Grace Yogendra Prabhu. Yogendra Prabhu has now been deliberating with a team of devotees on the framework and the importance of school education. Catch them while they're young. And if ISKCON as an institution was to create facilities where everybody arrives and wants to be present, especially the young children, what difference could it make? So on that note, I invite Yogendra Prabhu, who's going to guide us through this presentation and his thoughts on what his team is working on with respect to a framework for school education. Yogendra Prabhu, I request you to please switch on your video.
Yep, I'm all switched on. Hare Krishna. Can you see?
I cannot see you.
Oh, let me see if it may be because I'm using the presentation that I'm using is going to have my video. Can you see my face?
Yeah, we can see your.
We can only see your screen, Prabhu, but that is absolutely fine.
Okay, that's what I wanted.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu. I hand over the symposium to you. Please carry on.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here, and very thankful to the organizers for their patience with our group in getting the presentation through. And thank you so much. Please accept my humble obeisances, all devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to organizing a strategic educational framework for schools. My name is Yogendra Das, and I am a teacher. I teach at a Waldorf school in Nova Scotia, Canada. I've had a lot of experience in many different schools. I'm a father to 3 children. Every one of them is under 8. And currently I serve as a member of the board of directors for ISKCON Halifax. And I've received intensive training in attachment-based childhood development with the Neufeld Institute, which is based out of Vancouver, Canada, on the other side of the country. I'd like to introduce you to our team. Our team is called the Initiative for Scholastic Organization. Right now we have as our group His Grace Ramacharya Prabhu from St. Louis. He's a dedicated Shastric-based adult educator. We have also His Grace Parikshit Prabhu from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and he's the former principal of the Alachua Boys School. And we're also very fortunate to be working with Mother Praharna of Toronto. She's a Prabhupada disciple and senior leader in North America. She's our link to the North American Council. So we're working with her to have some contacts with the leaders. The goals of this presentation are really just to grow our team. We support and our support base. We need help. We need to grow our team so that we can carry out some of the initiatives that we want. And the second purpose is to just clarify our position and some of our priorities. I just want to give a little bit of background how our team came together. We all met at the ISKCON 3.0 Summit, which was a summit where leaders in North America came together and they brainstormed different initiatives. You can see here, education, holistic education for all had a lot of talks, a lot of discussion around that. And we all kind of were drawn to this initiative to develop the best curriculum and future schools for children. For me, the impetus, I got the chance to convene a breakout group, and that's where we all met. So for me, the impetus to do that really came from a project that I completed for the Live to Give campaign, the Sankirtan campaign, where I coordinated a team of Motel Gita book distributors in North America to send a Bhagavad Gita as it is to all the Waldorf schools in North America. And I just wanted to quickly show a map of what that looked like. So here you see North America, Canada, United States. We didn't reach out to Mexico, unfortunately, but we got all of these schools. There's 164 A lot of them are a lot of them are located on the eastern seaboard and in the Pacific coast, with a few in Hawaii. And when I was doing this project, it was just such a thrill to be involved in. But at the end of it, there was a bit of silence, and a question that came up for me was, well, great, we just did a nice service, we got some Bhagavad Gitas out, but I want to do something else, something more direct to impact the world. I maybe start thinking, okay, well, where are our schools, ISKCON schools? And for me, it wasn't a geographical question, because I already mapped those. So here are the ISKCON schools that I'm aware of, or the schools that are affiliated with ISKCON in North America. And they're a little bit more sparse than the Waldorf schools, and that's okay. But it wasn't a geographical question. It was more of a conceptual question, like where is even the concept of a ISKCON school? To me, I just didn't have that perspective. I didn't see, and I really just wanted to bring that to the group at the summit. So that's what I brought, and I was really kind of looking to find out, could we in ISKCON improve at strategically organizing our pedagogical branch of the movement? And what I thought what was missing was that we really just need an essential educational framework to become a recognizable school movement. What works so well for Waldorf schools is that they clearly have a recognizable identity. They have their aesthetics, they have their ethics, they have their ways of knowing, and they have a harmony of pedagogical practices and principles. And those are all things that we would want as well and be organized around. In the Waldorf movement, at least in North America, all the schools are simultaneously and unmistakably part and parcel of a global movement for social renewal. And that movement for social renewal is technically called anthroposophy. I like to call it ISKCON, because what I understand is that they're the International Society for Human Consciousness. And part of their founding principles is this: to be an association of people whose will it is to nurture the life of the soul, both in the individual and in human society, on the basis of true knowledge of the spiritual world. Sounds pretty familiar to me. And they're very successful. They have over 1,000 schools in 64 countries, and there's even more kindergartens in even more countries than that. So in North America, they have a sort of like an organizing body, I guess you could call it. And they have WeCan for early childhood and OZ for like high school, primary school, like that. So we have ISKCON and Krishna, they have WeCan and ASNA. Basically, the goal of ASNA and Waldorf education, as far as I understand it, is that they want to nurture individuals who can serve humanity with strength of will, depth of feeling, and clarity of thought. And I think that we would all want those things for our students as well, to be able to go out into the world and serve in that way. ASNA, we're looking at it as like a model maybe of organizing. They're a nonprofit membership organization, so all of their independent schools get accredited through them, but they're not a governing or management agency whatsoever. They don't enter into member schools' internal matters or decisions whatsoever. They are organized into geographic regions, and with a vision of nurturing Waldorf education, advancing their principles. And they do that through supporting schools, to work collaboratively. They offer professional and resource development. Of course, accreditation is a thing, community outreach and advocacy. So given what I know and sort of how I was feeling about this, I was bringing this to the attention of the group. And I was sharing also one really key realization that I had, that I'd gotten from doing this Gitas for Waldorf project, was that some of the parents in my school who actually had never done, like, they know I have a spiritual life, and some may know that I am a devotee. Certainly some of my colleagues do. And what I was seeing was that all of these people, I asked for some help because we had to call all these schools, 164 schools. We wanted to get the names of the people we could address the book to. And so I was too much time for me to spend on the phone. I said to the parents, can you help me out with this? And 8 people came forward and they, unknowingly did some devotional service. And I just thought, wow, if we had like 164 schools where parents were just investing, not that they came to the schools because they wanted to be devotees. Certainly, many of the Waldorf parents, they don't come to Waldorf schools or send their children to Waldorf schools because they want them to be anthroposophists or anything. They just want their children to develop fully, naturally, and healthily. And who could really expect any more from that, or from education, childhood education? Srila Prabhupada expected us to become organized so we could display the same kind of confidence, enthusiasm, and patience for education that I see in some of the things that I've observed in Waldorf. This quote particularly strikes me, that if we can develop such an institution for future children of the society or out of the society, it will be a great service to humanity. And that's what the team is really, we all agree on that point. And so as I kind of look into organizing education in ISKCON, there's some, difficult and painful things which I hear, and it's challenging for me as a member, to go through life, to think about going through life as a devotee and not, deny or attempt to bargain with, the things that didn't go well in organizing education in the past, or to become like angry or depressed, that we don't have as much organization as maybe we could. And so we just want to move forward in a very appreciative way. And so I just want us to take a moment to explain a little bit, how does our team conceive of organizing schools as a strategy? So there's a story by Aesop, the fabulist from ancient Greece. He tells of a crow who was flying under the sun and just baking in the sun, getting very hot, and he became very thirsty. So he was looking for water everywhere, but he couldn't find any. And so finally he flew over a field and he saw a glimmer of water reflecting the sun in a little pitcher. And he landed by the pitcher and found that the pitcher was too narrow for his small and short beak to reach the water at the bottom. So instead of spilling it and trying to get the water out, which would just be a waste, or to break the pitcher, which also would be a waste. And also, instead of just despairing and dying, the bird, with the help of Super Soul, I'm sure, started to pick up pebbles one by one, so that as the pebbles would go in, the water would rise. And so, the idea is that if we want something good to organize, we each got to put in a few pebbles. We have to use our brains, because the good that in life one most commonly gains arrives not by luck, but by using one's brains. And certainly as the water rises in the pitcher, it reminds me of this quote by Winston Churchill, that he said, "Cooperation is the tide that lifts all boats." So picking up some pebbles of wisdom from the words of leaders who I've heard from on this subject of organizing, I just wanted to share a few things about what they've indicated and guided us in terms of organizing a pedagogical branch for our movement. One thing that was really interesting was I heard that one of the leaders, when I asked him about, well, where are we at in the future organization? This leader said, well, we're in the foundling stage. And I never heard foundling stage before. I've always heard fledgling stage, fledgling kind of meaning that, it's an organization that, or the organization is a bit underdeveloped, or maybe the organization is inexperienced in doing it.
So Yogendra, sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
Just, are you changing your screen sharing, or I can see in the map? Are you in that one, right? Or
oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. No, yes. I want to get back to that. So can you see my screen again?
Yes, thank you.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, thanks for letting me know that. So I hope you caught at least the words. There were some images we probably missed, but so the foundling stage, that means that this infant has been abandoned by its parents and then is discovered and cared for. So one of the guiding indications is that, wherever we're at right now in terms of organizing for schools, we are wanting to be stewards. We want to care for that service. If we want to fly, get our organization back into flight. Another leader told us that there will never be an independent continental organization of schools without the efforts that we put into it. So we got to get that going. Another thing that we heard from a leader was that the idea of philosophies is starting to become more prominent than a philosophy of education, which is really at the heart of an educational framework. It's our paradigm, and it's our essential understanding. And so, I think what we're really aiming at is more integrating the insights that we have accessible to us, and not trying to just submit another, paper about a philosophy that we think is appreciable. Another thing we heard was that the most growth comes from the will of the community who actually gives the local support to organizing the school. So this seems like a good model for going forward, we heard. And this is something that we're keeping as a guiding indication that we're not, just like OSNA is not a governing or managerial agency, we're not interested in doing anything where it's going to be imposed, but we want to really give the school local control. And I mean, that's already going on, but that's just sort of an aspect of the framework. And so finally, the other guiding indication is that this is actually a top priority issue for ISKCON, at least for this one ISKCON leader that we heard from. Organizing is a top priority issue, but it's not an easy one to appreciate alone. And here's a guy pushing this up the hill, and he says, "Gee, I just never get tired of this." We want to, work together, all to put the pebbles in the pitcher together. So now, what are our team's priorities? We want to get started on some work. We've come together as a group, and now we have some things we want to get going. But our priorities are to really just get the water in the pitcher. We want to taste the purity that's there in healing and sustaining and cooperating. We don't want to just despair and allow ourselves to become victimized by how we ever got to this point. We want to really appreciate what is there. We think that there's so many excellent things that are going on in our schools, and we just want to explore the best features. So when we're looking at a framework, we just want to look at what is already going on the best, and from not only our current schools, but from our past schools, what was working? Can we build on that? And we want to be able to understand what are the best educational frameworks that we have in terms of theory and practice. That way we can grow and come alive as a movement of schools. And then finally, we want to visualize a framework for future schools, that would involve sort of a strategic plan. How can ISKCON make a contribution, an appreciable contribution to society at large through education? So we're going to have to do the needful, plan as far as possible, and just depend on the Lord's help for the rest. And we just really want to encourage anyone who's interested to add their voice to us. I'm the convener for the group, and so my job is really just to give people the space to hear. And we do have some projects that are important to us that we've determined, and I'm just going to quickly change my screen again and see if I can show you that. Just Prabhu, can you give me an indication if you could see what I'm showing you with this?
Currently we see your desktop.
Oh, okay. How about now? I think what I'm going to do is share screen. Okay, I know what to do. Thanks for. Now can you see?
We can see it now.
Yeah,
Yes.
Should say SMART goals. Thank you. So here are some of this is just an overview of the goals that we've committed to and kind of have a shared agreement around. These are like our common objectives. So we want to propagate the educational insights of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. we really, really want to work with the Ministry of Education and liaise with them and see, well, where can we support? Do you even want our support and help? If you don't, that's okay. You can just say so, and we'll end there. But we really like to work with the Ministry of Education. We do, want, to develop a framework, or at least a proposal for a framework, if only for a smaller region to start. We'd love to organize a teachers' conference so that we can have lots of voices, helping us with the development of a framework. And then, again, far off into the future, we'd love to see like a North American Association of Schools or a teachers' college, so that we can have a professional, group. So now I have to share a screen again. Go back to this. So those are our long-term projects. Now, how to deliver on those? That's something that we want to share. With the crow, he had to pull together all the intelligence that he could muster. So we have to accept that we're not that intelligent. But whatever intelligence we've got, for good intelligence we've been blessed with, and by our association together, we want to bring to bear some of our the insights of that we've developed through our practice, and also the insights that have been passed down to us by the acharyas. And we want to, sort of create something that's very practical. One thing that sticks out in my training is that I've been taught to understand development is a spontaneous thing, but it's not always inevitable. There's lots of things that can get in the way. I can speak from a lot of experience on that. But at the end of the day, if you provide conducive conditions for children to grow in, nature is behind everything in the material world, and nature will take care of all the developmental things that need to happen. So we're interested in delivering on things like, how can we educate devotees in our movement about education? We think maybe through things like posters like this one. So this is a result of some research that I've done into Bhaktivinoda Thakur's book called the Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrita. So in that book, he describes these different qualities of the soul which are inherent to the nature of the soul. And you can see them represented as sort of the fruits around the tree. And then he also talks about, several activities that can bring out those qualities of goodness, or those inherent qualities. And just imagine having a school where, this was part of the programming for like moral development or character building. And so all you did was, some of the activities he suggests are work for the welfare of others, learn to offer hospitality, participate in festivals and conduct them with the support of adults, protect and be responsible for the care of animals, experience loving relationships at home and have your needs taken care of by your parents. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is indicating that if we can do those types of things, that will help us, that will create a condition conducive to these qualities developing in the soul. And now just imagine if we had schools where even just the low-hanging fruits of justice and honesty were, the result in our children, that we produce children who were agents of justice in this world right now, which is so desperately needed. And if we created children who were honest, what to speak of going up to the higher fruits, like purity. And I conceive of that being not just purity of spiritual existence, but, purity of your character in terms of your, I guess, just to be very brief, varnashram, psychosocial nature like that. So who are
Yogendra Prabhu?
I'm just about to finish. Last few slides.
Take some questions, please, now, because we're running out of time.
Okay, sure. That's fine. I don't see the questions, but
I will let you know. So the first question is, this is, there, of course, Madan Ajivani Mataji's congratulating you for this. And we would like to know how far are you in the development of this curriculum now, framework?
Well, we're not that far. I mean, like I mentioned, we need to grow our team, because this is not, just a few people pushing a rock up a hill. We need to work together and we need to just grow our team. So we're looking for some help, and I was just about to explain who we might want help from, but I've taken more questions if that's where we want to go.
So are there some timelines to these SMART goals that you have on your screen now?
I can share those with you. So we were looking for some help to, basically before we can propagate any of our insights in Krishna consciousness education, we need to get them all organized. And so we wanted to have some, by September, this coming September, we wanted to organize some key insights into groups like philosophy of education or pedagogy, curriculum, administration, governance, like that. That timeline isn't realistic anymore because of where we're at in the year. And some of our members have been dealing with different challenges and obstacles, so we haven't been getting that far, and we just really need more help on this.
Clear, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Obviously, that's the foundation. That's the very first foundational step.
Yeah.
I'm just looking if there are other questions. Of course, devotees are welcome to connect with each other through the medium of the symposium. You are all online. You can exchange, chat with each other, exchange contact details. We would request you, Yogendra Prabhu, to please drop on the chat box your contact email address. So
Yes,
those who are interested in collaborating with you can contact you. So just as a matter of background, the Ministry of Education has created a platform on its website where you can do this, i.e. teachers, devotees can register there and you can create your own projects. You can actually have the ability to discuss with each other in the form of a discussion forum and take it forward. So I encourage devotees to come forward and support. About schools. So His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, right at the very beginning of this movement, in the form of ISKCON, focused on school, established schools, and he had a certain format in which he wanted the world to look up to our schools. And those were the Gurukulas that he established. And he expected those Gurukulas to fructify to a stage where the rest of the world would rush to it. They would want to send their children to it. If you look at Srila Prabhupada's writings, many a places he states in the context of India, he states, establish a first-class school in Calcutta so that the Birlas of the world would send their children to study there. So our founder Acharya had a very lofty aspirations from his followers. We've had a start and stop kind of a phenomena with respect to our schools, and it continues to happen. So we really need to introspect why that happens, and I hope that this project, at least in its historical research, will determine that. You can, Yogendra Prabhu, please be in touch with us. We have a lot of history that we can share with you, also have discussions. Only yesterday, I was with the school principal, the new school principal in Sridham, Mayapur. And I was mentioning to Her Grace there that ISKCON is an educational movement, and in places such as Sridham, Mayapur, Vrindavan, and every center of ISKCON, we should have the best of the schools that the world has to offer. We have the best philosophy, we should develop the best character in our children, and we should offer the best schools. Yogendra Prabhu and Ramacharya Prabhu, Parikshit Prabhu, and all the devotees who are involved in this initiative, very grateful. Several of these initiatives are happening in different parts of the world, and we've had successes in different locations. Encourage you to please be in touch. All glories to your service.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you so much.
Yogendra Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.